Donald Trump is number one, at least when it comes to being the target of negative attack ads. The New York Times reports today more than half of the spending on negative advertising this presidential cycle was directed at Trump, including this new ad out yesterday from Hillary Clinton.
He says we should punish women who have abortions.
There has to be some form of punishment.
That Mexicans who come to America are rapists.
They're rapists.
And that we should ban Muslims from coming here at all.
Total and complete shutdown.
The targeted takedown of Trump started in January. That's when a super PAC backing Jeb Bush spent more than $2 million portraying Trump as a bully. Now, at the time, Trump had a 50% favorability rating, but as the negative ads increased in frequency, his favorability rating started to tank. And the situation could get worse for Trump. The New York Times reports a pro-Hillary Clinton super PACs reserved $70 million worth of TV ad time that will surely be used to target Trump if he's the GOP nominee.
All right, for more on this, let's welcome in today's guest. Joining us, we have political operative and attorney Sam Nunberg. He used to work closely with Donald Trump, and Noah Rothman, the assistant online editor at Commentary Magazine. All right, gentlemen, we got the play-by-play. There's going to be a lot of money still spent on Donald Trump, but we know about Right to Rise, the Club for Growth, Our Principles PAC. According to that New York Times article, they spent more than $23 million on Trump attack ads. Noah, why would it be any different this next round of ads? What's different this time that might make these ads more effective?
Well, what's different this time is that he's going to be targeted now by Democratic groups as well as Republican groups. That $23 million was a relatively paltry sum, considering that Right to Rise alone had spent over $100 million on ads. And that was actually one of the most well-voiced frustrations of the anti-Trump factions on the right, who were frustrated with Jeb Bush's allies in particular for spending the majority of their campaign cash targeting fellow conservatives like Marco Rubio in particular, as opposed to Donald Trump, even as their candidate was pounding away at Donald Trump and even touting himself as the singular focus of the anti-Trump movement. So now you're beginning to see that campaign shift towards the general. Donald Trump remains the favorite, the prohibitive favorite, and so they're going to begin to treat him as like he was the front runner. And $70 million is just the very beginning of the negative campaign that's going to be run against him.
All right, Sam, so your response to this, I mean, Donald Trump has been able to brush this off like it's been no big deal. In some cases, it's even helped him. Maybe it's the connection between Right to Rise and Jeb Bush. Do you think this onslaught of media attacks will be any different on Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think they're going to be a lot different. Well, first of all, you have to also back up and remember that we had a paradigm where it was 17 candidates. And it was hard for them to break through, and there were other issues going on, whether there was the intersquabbling between Scott Walker and Ted Cruz, Ben Carson and Ted Cruz, or, as Noah mentioned, you had Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush. But now, as we even see between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, as it's a two-man race, you're going to really see that these negative ads will actually have a bigger impact than they did. And why? Because it's a two-man race. See, Donald's going to lose his qualitative and quantitative advantage that he was able to have in a much larger field. And this is also one of the reasons why he's going to be a terrible general election candidate should he be the nominee. The Clintons, the Democrats, they don't screw around, pardon my French. The Republicans on the other side, they don't really know what they're doing sometimes, and they weren't really caught off guard by this. And when I worked for Mr. Trump then, we actually anticipated that. But what you'll end up seeing is I'd say if he were to be the nominee and he in Cleveland, you have to remember there's going to be a long period of time between the Republican convention and the Democrat convention, which is, by the way, an advantage for the Democrats. And during that time, even if Trump was going to be able to get a bump, you'll have more than 70 million. I'd say probably around 250 million. Look, David Brock.
Yeah, let's talk about this too. I want to bring this up because David Brock, according to Politico, just was quoted as saying that he has enough opposition research to knock the Trump Tower down. Politico reports that Brock was speaking at a reception on the sidelines of the annual spring meeting of the Democracy Alliance Liberal Donor Club in Santa Monica at the Tony Fairmont Hotel. Brock said, quote, Trump was not properly vetted by his rivals or by the press during the Republican presidential primary. Noah, I know you have written a lot of pieces trying to educate your audience and vet Donald Trump. What do you think about that statement that Trump has not been properly vetted by the media during this process?
I think it's absolutely accurate, and I also think that it's supported by the indignation of the press when you confront them with this. They feign great offense at that suggestion, as though that there's been a singular focus on Donald Trump and there was just no market for it. That's only half true. You can talk to anybody on any of these anti-Trump super PACs. I'm specifically thinking of Liz Mayer and Rick Wilson, two very prominent Republicans who have fed Oppo to opposition research to the media, only to hear it rejected and say, come back to us in the general election. There have been stories that are just shocking that have appeared only in places like the Weekly Standard and National Review. Mark my words, those will be focuses of political attack ads, and they will be the focus of new attention in the press. Aggrieved panels, debate panels will be convened. You'll have victims being interviewed in prime time. There will be a definitive shift in the general election, and the press will say, well, we always did our job. But this is going to be a very different sort of focus when if Donald Trump is election nominee for the GOP.
Well, we know they tried with the Trump University ads, but Sam, dovetailing off of what Noah just said there, you've heard Donald Trump and others say that he's been in the public eye so much, anything that he said can just be kind of swept under the rug because that was the old Donald Trump and he's reinvented himself now as a presidential candidate. Do you think that there is this opposition research out there that could come back to haunt Donald Trump, even though so much stuff is already seemingly out there?
Yes. Well, first of all, you have to also remember that it's going to be a major shift when we go into the general election. Mitt Romney, for instance, last cycle, he ran in the primary being a private businessman. And the Democrats did focus groups. They've talked about this. Joel Benenson, who works for Hillary Clinton now, talked about how they saw that his strongest appeal was that he was a businessman. What did the Democrats do? They immediately killed his business background. They made him out to be a murderer. They made him out to be that he killed he took insurance away and people died of cancer. When you refocus this into a binary two-choice race, Donald Trump is a terrible candidate. And he could have been a better candidate, and I'm sure Noah disagrees with me on this. I was there. And, he's not able to stay on message, and he won't be able to get out in front of these issues because of the type of campaign he has internally over there. So I would say that, with somebody like David Brock, the Democrat machine ready to go and defend Hillary. And Hillary, by the way, also is would be a terrible candidate, as the Gallup shows,
Well, the poll numbers
I think we would lose a major advantage.
With women. It's concerning for a lot of folks, and that's why you hear a lot of talk about the rules at the convention coming up. Noah Rothman, great seeing you. Assistant online editor of Commentary Magazine, and Sam Nunberg, political operative and attorney. As always, gentlemen, great to have you with us. All right, stay with us. Still to come here on Newsmax Now, from rockers to bankers, see who's flushing away business from North Carolina in protest of that state's so-called bathroom bill. And where the Republican presidential candidates stand on the issue of religious liberty laws. We'll talk about that when we come back after this.